Reliving the scene in her head, with her fiancé's image in her mind, Joseline sat on the edge of the bed, her heart racing. She had formed her life around him and believed in their love, so being tangled in sheets with another woman was a betrayal she never saw coming. It now felt like a cruel joke. What the devil was I thinking? She silently fought back tears, each one piercing more deeply than the last as she felt her phone. Her feelings spun around anger, hurt, disbelief, and so on. She couldn't bring herself to glance at Buzz next to her, since the last thing she wanted was to hear his justifications. With a smug expression on his face, he strolled in as the front door cracked open. "Hey babe," he said, his words trailing off when he noticed the expression on her face. Joseline felt a mixture of anger and sadness rising in her cheeks. "Don't hey babe me," she shot back, shooting herself in the face and standing up. "How could you do this to me after everything we've been through?" she thought, her eyes flickering to guilt. "I can explain," he started, but she interrupted him, saying, "You think I want to hear your pathetic excuses?" Her voice wavered, but she remained firm. "I witnessed it happen right in front of me. There was nothing you could say to make it better." He shuffled uneasily, looking for words, "But I assure you it meant nothing." Joseline's emotions surged as she took a step closer and jabbed her finger into his chest. "You took my trust and tossed it out the window," she said, her laughter bitterly echoing off the walls. "You think that's going to make it better?" she asked, referring to her previous relationship with another woman. "This is how you pay me back for everything that I've given to you, my heart, time, and soul." I apologize for his stuttering. "Your desperation took the place of his arrogance. I made a mistake. Your weakness is not an excuse. It ruins everything in its path." Joseline's voice was strong, but it was clear how hurt she was. "I shouldn't have to settle for second best." A backup strategy, he reached out to touch her, but she recoiled, stepping back. Don't you dare try to comfort me after what you've done," she said, her voice cracking with a mixture of anger and sadness. "I can't believe I trusted you," she said, her tears a reminder of her broken heart. "I fought so hard for us, for our future, and you threw it away like it meant nothing." Joseline inhaled deeply, as she tried to gather her thoughts. "Joseline, please stop," she said, cutting him off once more. "You've made your choice, and it's clear where your loyalties lie. If you think I'm going to stick around while you play games with my heart, you've got another thing coming. I'm through." The silence that followed was deafening, and she felt the tears spill over, but this time they weren't just tears of sadness, they were tears of strength. "I'm not going to let you break me. I'll rise from this stronger and better than ever." He looked at her realization. "I'm not going to be your backup plan anymore. You want to throw everything away for a fun night, fine. But don't expect me to sit here and take it." Waking up to wait, Joseline dried her eyes and stood up straighter than before. "You bet I am going to take back my power. You think you can abuse me and get away with it, but I won't be your victim." She looked away, feeling her rage gradually morph into a furious resolve. He called after her as she began to move toward the door, but she didn't turn around. "You'll regret this," he whispered. But she grinned because she knew her future will be bright without him. "I'm done with this chapter of my life. It's time for me to focus on myself. I deserve respect, love, and loyalty, not this betrayal." Joseline strolled outside into the night, the crisp, energizing air filling her with anticipation for the new chapter of her life, one in which she would be in charge, unstoppable and utterly unapologetic. When Joseline and Ballistic made their Instagram debuts in April 2019, everything about it felt like something out of a fairy tale. Ballistic is a gifted music producer, and Joseline not only collaborated on songs but also dominated reality TV, appearing in programs like Love and Hip Hop. By September of the same year, they had become engaged. Joseline gushed in a heartfelt birthday post, calling him the sweetest man and asking him to spend the rest of your natural life with me. She promised loyalty, love, and everything in between. However, things have quickly gotten worse now that Ballistic is allegedly moving on and spilling the beans about Joseline's dirty laundry. Whether or not these hygiene allegations are true, the breakup has undoubtedly drawn attention. Joseline needs to clean up her act, both literally and figuratively, perhaps. And let's not forget, those who believe they can come for Joseline and get away with it must be living under a rock. Their mother is aware that Joseline is not CS and will quickly intervene if you even slightly offend her. After all, this is the same Joseline who faced down armed police officers and survived to tell the story. That's the kind of energy we're here to handle. People have been whispering about Miss Joseline's scent situation for a hot minute, so don't get it twisted. What's even wilder is that Carissa isn't the first to spill the tea on Joseline's alleged funk. So Carlos really thought she could drag Joseline's hygiene through the mud and not catch these hands. I'm not suggesting Carissa was right to be untidy, but perhaps Jaylene might think about some solutions rather than bowing down every time someone makes a suggestion about it. Let's face it, nobody can be lying consistently these days. The story began just a few days ago when Joseline made a guest appearance on the Anti-podcast, which was hosted by none other than Tokyo Tony Tia KM and yes, Carissa herself. The tension in the air was palpably building, just like a pot of gumbo, and Jaylene didn't hold back when Joseline strutted in the air. Then came the real twist. Cess came in swinging, calling Carissa a crusty old woman and accusing her of being jealous because Joseline is a good 20 years younger than Carissa and has receipts for days, unlike Carissa's dusty dreams. But wait, Joseline didn't stop there. She continued, boasting about how she's making millions for Zeus Network and making young girls famous while Carissa's son is sitting up in jail. Carissa merely sat there taking it all on the chin like a pro, didn't flinch and didn't budge as Janine twisted the knife, calling out her funky breath and her incapacity to dress to save her life. This showdown is just getting started, and I can't wait to see how it plays out. Although Carissa found the situation unpleasant, she wasn't going to give Joseline the last say. A few days after the shady interview was public, Carlosa went on Instagram Live because she had a lot to say. Although she lacked the bravery to confront Joseline face-to-face during the interview, she discovered her voice behind the screen. Carlos let it all hang out, whereby Joseline is accused of having a funky coupe and spilling the beans on how she reportedly forced the producers to exclude certain parts of the interview in order to create the impression that Carissa was unexpectedly approaching her. When Jaylene first walked into the room, according to Carissa, a funky aroma filled the air. At first, everyone assumed it was just a cameraman who didn't know what soap was, but after a minute, it became apparent that the scent was coming directly from Joseline's private area. The shade was real, and you know this saga isn't over yet, so grab some popcorn and get ready for some intense drama. Naturally, this set off a chain reaction in which people said things like, Carissa should have maintained that same energy when she was sitting opposite from Joseline, instead of waiting to pop off online. Another person said, if you've ever been around Joseline you know this, but it's not tea because Joseline will tell you she doesn't wear deodorant for environmental reasons, so noting and thinking you embarrassed her cause she already knows. Still another person said, now that I heard Carissa's side and I watched the playback of the show, Carissa was blanking and looking like something funky LOL. But hold up, this drama train wasn't stopping anytime soon. People quickly pointed out, however, that this wasn't the first time Carissa had been accused of, well, smelling a little off. Carlosa couldn't leave it alone and felt especially bold, accusing Joseline of having a BBL on top of it all. Like, girl, haven't you had enough? Carlosa was really out here doubling down on the drama, making sure to squeeze every last drop of messiness out of this whole ordeal. She said they are getting these BBLs and forgetting they hold fun. People were saying that Jaylene might want to look into some personal care tips instead of swinging on everybody who dare mention her little funk situation. The first time Jaylene's purported hygienic problems were publicized was during her feud with K. Michelle back in 2017. Due to her low self-esteem, Joseline chose to make light of the awkward incident in which rapper Uncle Murda accused K. Michelle of being in a stank position. Sue even went so far as to recommend some home cures and RR for K. Michelle to get over that bad mood. You've heard of this before, right? It's what you did here, just to say, hey, we're rizzing 28 days, you can get that I'm going to do that now.